Yeah, we have another meeting. Welcome to the City Council special meeting, Tuesday, April 9th. On that order, I wanted to start off with a couple of things before we jump to the main event, which is hearing from the Youth Advisory Board, which I cannot wait for that. Couple of things. The last few days have been challenging for many people in the city. We had huge winds, which are themselves incredibly challenging for people. I know they set my teeth on edge and they really bother a lot of folks, particularly, though not exclusively. There's folks who were survivors of the Marshall Fire. There was a decision by Excel, certainly not our council, not Boulder County, not anybody but Excel, to preemptively shut down power to 50,000 plus folks, about 4,500 of them in Louisville, over on Saturday. And I think almost everybody is up. There may be a couple that are still not up, but I think most of them are back online. There's a lot of questions about it. We don't have that on the agenda tonight. I'm not going to take comments from council or from other folks about it, but wanted you to know, folks here, folks who are watching on Zoom, that we had a meeting yesterday with the president of Excel Energy, brought mayors, county commissioners, and staff together to talk a little bit about the decision. They acknowledged quite a number of mistakes, especially in connection with notice and some of the communications. And we made a number of suggestions to them, least of which would be nice if, at the very least, they would give some thought to potentially giving people a break on their Excel bill this month, at least those who lost power. Don't know whether they're going to do that. Have reason to believe, based on the press statements I've seen since, we're not going to do that, but we hope that's the case. We hope that we may be able to convince them to come out and to talk to folks about the future of these kinds of shutdowns, which are very common in California, New Mexico, Texas, I know that there are plenty of people who are concerned about this and probably have questions, and we can perhaps discuss a later date. But for right now, I just wanted to make sure to update people on that. And I think, given the pictures that people have seen of the matchsticks that were broken in, the power lines that were down, that were broken like matchsticks, I think it's pretty hard to fault Excel for making that decision. How they chose to roll it out is another story. That's only my view. It's not council's view necessarily. But there'll be more to discuss at some point down the road. So tonight, we have two things on the menu. One is the Youth Advisory Board's annual report, and the second has to do with our ward meeting process. And Youth Advisory Board, we are delighted to have you here. Appreciate all your work, and we're ready for your report. But first, maybe we should introduce ourselves. At least the folks in council and everybody at the front table. I think there's a lot of parents and stuff, but probably can't, let's not introduce everybody, but everybody at the table ought to be introduced right now. Please.
I'm Meredith Booth, I'm city clerk. For Hamilton, I'm a council member in Ward 3. Deb Fahey, I'm a council member in Ward 2.
Kim Bierman, council member in Ward 1.
I'm Judy Kern, I'm the council member for Ward 2.
Chris Lyon in the mirror.
Dietrich Hefner, council member for Ward 3.
And Caleb Dickinson, Councilmember Ward 1. Adam Blackmore, I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Open Space with the city.
Sarah Fox, I'm the deputy city manager.
And Jeff Durbin, City Manager.
Can you guys quickly introduce yourselves?
I'm Hazel Van Zale. I go to LMS. I'm in 7th grade, and for me, a highlight of being in has been the our pet bear project. That was just like really fun connecting with football and
I'm Senna Williams. I'm the vice chair of the board. I go to Monarch High School and I've been on this board since 2019. A highlight for me has actually been this year's project, which we will talk about later. My name is Violet Treesh. I go to Louisville Middle School. I'm in 7th grade, and this is my 2nd year on the board. And a highlight from this year, or from my time on the board, has been the Pet Mayor project.
Hi, I'm Soren Firestein. I'm a sophomore at Fairview High School, and this is my 3rd year on the board. And my highlight from the advisory board would definitely have been our Pet Mayor project and how we marketed it. It was very cool. I'm Bella Ferguson. I go to Monarch PK8. I'm in 7th grade, and my favorite highlight from me being on the board is probably the Pet Mayor.
My name is Evan Hyatt. I'm in 6th grade. I go to LMS. This is my first year on the YD, and the highlight is probably this year's project.
Hi, my name is Raymond. I'm a sophomore at Fairview High School. It's my 2nd year on the board. And the highlight for me is, working with the Pet Mayor.
I'm Nate Hart. I've been on the board since 2019. I go to Monarch as a sophomore. My highlight is definitely the CLM.
My name is Tiana Peterson. I'm in 11th grade and I go to Central High School. This is my first year on the board, and my highlight was definitely decorating the glow party at the
I'm Jessica Schwartz. I'm the team services librarian here at the library, and I am one of the staff leads.
And I'm Mandy Kerr, and I'm the liaison for the recreation.
So one of the things that we do is volunteer projects, and this year we have volunteered. We did the Sweetheart Dance, which is just like really fun, and like if you have kindergarten and preschool kids, just take them to Sweetheart Dance. It's got the date, but it's just like February, sometime around Valentine's Day. And it's always really fun to just like work with all the little kids and see what they do. And then, like someone said, we also helped decorate for the blow party this year, and that was also just really fun and a good way to tell them that community.
We also get visits from other city boards and community members at our meetings, such as Tiffany Boyd from the Louisville Sustainability Advisory Board and Martin Ogle from All Careers Approach, which is about sustainability and careers. It's directed at high school and middle school students. And our project this year is also focused on sustainability. We're trying to teach kids more about ways to be sustainable in different areas. We've got 5 stations that we're going to set up across Louisville where they can go on a sort of scavenger hunt and learn more about sustainability and find out what their eco promise is and what they're going to try and do to help our community be more sustainable.
This was our project from 2021, and it was like a diversity art project. So kids submitted art based on around their culture and what was important to them about diversity. And then we ended up putting this in the Louisville Public Library for just the public to enjoy. There's some really awesome pieces of art on here. So for the pet mayor, when we did this last year, as most people know, we set up a campaign for people to, like, sign up their animals and be able to get their animals voted for the pet mayor of city of Louisville. And that is a 2-year, thing that they do. And they are in all the parades, and basically it's just an animal as mayor.
So that was it for the advisory board's presentation to council, and you have some questions that you have.
I think what we'll do first is to take some public comments from the many members of the public that have come to this tonight. And then we'll bring it back to council. I'm sure council members will have questions. Is anybody from the public either? Is anybody on Zoom? Okay. Like to make a comment about what you've seen, heard? Think?
Well, this has been a really meaningful program. I'm very good feeling it is a mom. And it's been amazing. We love the opportunities that the board has given her. And it's been really fun to see people really enjoy volunteering and learning about the reach she can have within her community, interviews and going to city meetings. That's been wonderful.
Council members.
I would like to thank every one of you for being a member of the Youth Advisory Board, first of all. I think what you're doing is incredibly important and it's giving you a step into the whole public process. So I'm hoping that you maintain that interest for the rest of your life. Also, I thought it was really cool that you got a tie for pet mayor. That was pretty good. And I love that you're emphasizing ecological issues. So I know Tiffany's been a wonderful asset, giving you a lot of good information and connections and stuff. And it just makes so much difference that you're trying to protect the world for yourself, but also I think for your future children or grandchildren. That's why I'm doing this. Thank you all.
Both council member comments.
I'd love to know, you guys were alluding to this year's project. You said last year you loved doing pet mayor. So what was this year's project that you loved?
We set up a scavenger hunt around town where we're gonna have different stations set up. You can see some of the posters down at the end where we would teach kids about sustainable practices such as composting, recycling, native plants and growing gardens. We also have like coal mining history in Louisville and how that's affected our pollution and carbon footprint.
And is it going to be available for adults or just kids?
It's going to be available for everybody. The posters are more targeted at kids, but they have a link at the bottom to the Louisville City Sustainability page.
And when are you guys doing this?
Earth Week.
Nice. So coming up. Perfect. Thank you. I'm excited to participate actually.
Other comments?
Yeah, how much time do you guys spend on the youth advisory board? In meetings and outside of meetings, like how much time do you spend on it?
It depends. The meetings are usually an hour and a half to an hour. It's once a month, but we have optional meetings as well when you're available as a member. So I'd say like 2 hours. It should basically show up.
In addition to volunteering.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you do when you volunteer?
As Hazel mentioned, we do like events around like the rec centers, like the Sweetheart Dance and the Glow Party. In the past, we've also volunteered at places like organizations outside of our community. And right now we're trying to get to volunteer with the Precious Child.
Very cool. And no elementary schoolers, right? You have to be middle schooler or older to be on the youth advisory board.
Yes.
How many of you are also on the youth, the sustainability? I think you guys are, it's two different groups, isn't it?
That's a non-city.
Oh, okay, I was just curious. I know Hazel, because I met you before, that's delight.
Yeah.
Most of you, yeah, okay. I just, the reason I was asking is the projects are, very similar with you guys focusing on sustainability. So I just thought I didn't know, because it's, a lot of other kids too in your age group are really working on that and working hard and taking time to meet with council members as well. So this is my first time meeting the rest of you, so it's really lovely, actually. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you so much for coming. Really wonderful to meet all of you.
Yes, Councilmember Hamilton.
What I didn't mention when I introduced myself is I have a daughter, she's 8 years old, she goes to LES. And we participate in these events that you all put on. I personally was jealous, I did not prepare to participate in the blow party that happened. Had FOMO sitting on the sidelines, so she was partying in the pool, with all those cool, the balls that lit up and like the bouncy obstacle course. I mean, it was amazing. So I want to express my gratitude on behalf of my daughter and all of her friends who also participate. We love these things that you put together. I'm so excited to find out about this year's project. So thank you.
Yeah, just a big thank you for all that you guys do. Really appreciate it. And impressed with your presentation, because I know it's not easy to do a public speaking, so well done.
Yeah, I don't want to echo the rest, or I echo the rest of the comments. I'm not going to repeat them, but one of the things that I have said probably 1,000 times, as many around the table can attest, is that in Louisville, like many cities, but in Louisville, our town doesn't work without the work of volunteers. It would be much less wonderful place than it is right now. And you're a part of that. This is your time. I know people sometimes can, reflect it on applications and things like that, but you're out there and doing this and getting in front of a city council and speaking. And I can see that this project is going to be wonderful. You're gamifying this, which is, that's one of the reasons that since adults can, it sounds like adults can participate. They like things being gamified too. Maybe we get some extra people interested. And the dog mare, my dog, Nellie, Sean, little bit jealous of dog mares, gotta say. There are other dogs that weren't selected, and I know you guys did a really good job at trying to make sure that the dogs that weren't selected were appreciated nonetheless. But I think that was it's the coolest, and I hope that continues. I also think that one of the best things that I heard from a number of you that you've done this for multiple years. And that's a big commitment. I really appreciate your doing that. And thank you to our liaisons who I know have helped and hopefully encouraged the rest of you, and to the parents who supported kids. This is a big deal. Actually, a really big deal for these guys to get up and do these things. So thank you very, very much. And it's now a good time to hand out some certificates. Small token, a token of appreciation. I'm just gonna call the names as they come up here.
Can I just make sure everybody knows what it's for?
Oh, yeah.
Just because- Well, for those of you in the audience, so members sign on for a 2-year term. They can reapply. There's no term limits. We've had youth go from 6th grade all the way through senior year, which is always amazing. I hope some of these folks will. So even though they are getting their 2-year certificate, you may see them again next year if they reapply. So there will be some youth that are not receiving a certificate because they're halfway through their 2-year term. I always want to make sure I go, wait a minute, those two kids didn't get one. They'll get one next year.
And I'll read what it says on that, because that's something that's all lost. You have made a positive impact on your community. Thank you for giving your time and talents in recognition of your valuable contributions to the City of Louisville Youth Advisory Board 2022 to 2024. And then, sign, and at the bottom is a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi, which is the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So, Raymond Times. Graham Swing. Okay, I'll get that to her. Violet. Hazel Van Zyl. Sam Williams. Thanks again. And we are. I think, at some point, there were. At some point, can we, want to do that right now?
Because they will be ready.
Well, they're invited to stay, but I understand if you don't want to sit through the meeting. That's you. Why don't, maybe if you, and all of council. And back,
Yes. Come on over. Neil or disperse. Feel free to hold up your certificate if you did receive one.
That's where they will be guys.
Sending it over.
All right.
Just some people just,
So we just like, I guess I'll let you.
Well, she
is that better?
That's true. Yeah, you want me to get it too? Yeah, okay, I'll send it to the court. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, seriously, Karen. It's not till every-
I knew everything that we're at, like, I didn't want to do.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Got out of the gate. Okay, we need to go to B4. We're like, we're happy. Like, it's literally the same airplane. I got off the airplane and they were already like, they're just waiting for us to get off and they boarded us. So we had literally like 15 minutes. See, that was awesome.
I just took a number.
Let's see. Right, so. Not taking a break right now. All right, so the next item is discussion direction for board meeting process. Member John, do you have some comments to share?
Good job.
Are you talking about?
That's teacher stuff.
First, we'll have a presentation, take some public comment, and then we can talk a little bit about it. So please.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Sam Fox, Deputy City Manager. Tough act to follow. And we're going to talk about board meetings. I have just a brief presentation for you. If my slide changes. Okay, so tonight we're gonna talk about ward meetings, which are an opportunity for us to engage with our constituencies, for council to engage with their constituencies. We're asking for a little bit of guidance, so we can make sure that we do this consistently, and we have a proposal that we're gonna present to you. Just a little bit of background, we have a history of board meetings in Louisville. In recent years, during COVID, council turnover, marshal fire, it's been a little bit varied over time. We're certainly hearing some renewed interest from this council in doing board meetings. We want to take this opportunity to check in with you all about setting some standards for these. Some things we want to be considerate of. We want equitable opportunities for engagement with each board. We want to make sure that every ward is getting similar opportunities here for conversations with our council. We want to make sure we're meeting council member preferences and needs. And we want to be thoughtful of our fiscal impacts here. Our proposal is that we would have 2 city-supported board meetings. And these are board meetings like the Q1 and Q3, where staff works to schedule in advance, communicate via all different types of messaging, coordinate that messaging so it's very consistent. We reserve the room, we do snacks, we schedule, we'd attend the event and support in person. The communication support would be a little bit larger for this type of a meeting. We'd make sure we schedule in advance with newsletters, we do flyers at locations, put it on social media, even have maybe like a little almost media packet that you all can share on your social media. Things like that, right? So we can get the word out, and we hope we can get the word out to your constituents for that. Of course, we provide any talking points or topic guidance to council members. This would not negate the opportunity for council members to do any additional ward meetings if they want to, right? So council members could all do additional ward meetings. You'd be on the hook to plan, schedule, and post as you see fit. Of course, you could use city facilities. Staff would ask that with advance notice, we would include in existing communications channel, newsletters, things like that on social media. And of course, Jeff and I would always be happy to provide talking points, guidance on emerging issues. We do just want to be considered fiscal impact. So a couple things to consider here. A postcard for a citywide mailing is roughly 6,000. We did one for the comprehensive plan, for example. And then staff support can range depending on how much time staff is asked to spend on these types of things. With that, we'd like to turn it over to council to have a discussion. We're asking for your direction here. If you'd like to go with our proposal, we're happy to start implementing that. If you have a different recommendation or would like to see something else, please let us know.
Okay, why don't we have council questions and then we'll take some public through and then come back and talk about it.
Just have one question, the 6,000 is citywide, so would one board be 2,000?
Correct.
Other questions? Yeah.
Is there, thank you. Is there a strategic reason as to why Q1 and Q3 were chosen as opposed to 2 and 4? Tell me about that.
Yeah, we would be a little bit flexible there. One thing that we're trying to be considerate of is we don't want to do board meetings during an open election period. So we'd like to get that board meeting probably Q3 before the election opens. Q1 is also a nice time post holidays, beginning of the year, implementing new plans to touch base with the community. We would certainly be flexible on those timeframes should council desire to repeat there.
Have there been board meetings that have been supported by council yet this year?
There has been a Ward 2 meeting. There was a planned Ward 3 meeting that was delayed to the weather.
Other questions? Okay. Guess what? 2 of the public. On that. So do you have any thoughts about thanks for being here. Want to take it back to council. Thoughts on the proposal and anything else before you?
I'm obviously the newest member. I'd love to know from the veterans, what have you guys done in the past for board meetings?
Yeah, they definitely basically stopped over COVID, but I think it was typically more like once a year, and like Chris and I did it like at the fire station, and it's pretty well attended. I mean, depending on what you consider well, you know, it's like, you know, 10 to 20, 10 to 30 people. Coming pretty civil as well, and just a good opportunity to have a chat. But having it official definitely got the kind of constituents that I didn't know personally. And like any other kind of meet and greets I've done, or it ends up being a lot of people already know.
Sure.
So it's really nice just to kind of have the city put something out and have whoever wants to come. And Chris and I had, so I can only speak to ours, but we had, you know, some things that we wanted to talk about, basically keeping people up to speed with what's going on in the city, to fill the time if there wasn't a lot, and then to allow them to say whatever they wanted to say and have a really good conversation. Very careful on what's quasi judicial in the moment. So for us, Redfield Ridge was always off limits. Some other properties were, you know, we were educated enough to know like, hey, really can't talk about it. Let's educate you on the quasi judicial process and why we can't talk about it. But really nice meetings, and I think it would be, I totally support the idea of twice a year. I think that's a lot on our staff. Going from none or once a year to twice a year is times 3. And there's also like a state of the city, you know, it's another kind of version of this. So I think it's a lot. It ends up being 7 meetings. So, you know, I think that's generous, well, whatever. It's after hours, typically after hours. So I think it's a generous offer to have staff support us that frequently is full. But I love the idea.
I can say to you that pre-COVID, before the world was crazy, when we would schedule them together, it would be usually a 2 or 3 week period where you try to fit in each board and a mayor's town meeting so that they can all be advertised. So like, October is gonna be board meeting month and try and get everybody into it.
Does the mayor attend that with the ward?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
I just
and
didn't-
the way we've done that in the past, well, Councilman Trey.
Oh, I was just gonna say that for the Ward 2 meetings, I don't remember ever having staff present for the meetings. It was only the council members
That's true, I
and the
forgot.
public.
It was just-
So for staff to offer to be present is an option, I guess, but not a requirement, I don't.
It used to have staff pre-COVID.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
I went to a lot.
Well,
I
okay.
just meant, usually we'd have one staff member in attendance to take notes at a minimum, so that if people had questions that you had an answer to, someone would be able to get back to them. We'd have a sign-in sheet so everyone knew who was there.
Yeah,
My memory is different.
yeah, I don't remember.
I
That would be
can't
pre-2016.
remember. Pardon me?
That would be pre-2016 before I became clerk.
Yes. But even, well, yeah, at any rate, I don't remember staff being at Ward 1 meetings. I do remember staff coming and bringing cookies, dropping them off.
Yeah,
And then, you know, we took notes, I did that with Jay too. And it was there, you know, just, it is a different crowd. It does draw a different group. There's still people who I know are pretty active elsewhere in the community, but they're not people who we typically see at meetings. In my experience, in like one, the last one we did the one right before we went to one. And talked to people about it, and they were totally fired up for your participating in that. But it was nice to present that, you know, to be able to talk to people, hear their views.
and it was really helpful. Judy and I did one in November, wasn't it? December. And it was the biggest board meeting I have ever attended. We had over 70 people show up. A lot of the conversation was about fire issues, mitigation and things like that, but there were other concerns, and they brought up all of their concerns, and that's the function, I think, of the ward meetings, is to find out what the residents are concerned about. Because they can't always come to a meeting and tell us what their opinion is on every item that's on our agenda. And I used to do that, but not very many people do. So,
I thought it was really helpful, and residents commented they were able to listen to each other, asking
Right.
questions and responding. And that engagement that they wouldn't normally have too was really was really interesting and I think appreciated. Because you had council members there that everybody's talking with, but they were like kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, and like one thing led to, it was really very productive. There were a lot of conversations about the transportation, things like that, the train circle, like, people read different things in the news, and so you're like, how does that affect us? What, like, is our mayor working on something? Are you guys doing anything? So I think though that I like the idea that it is like a month, like you try and do all three boards within the same, like, few week time period, so that everyone knows, ooh, like you said, like, whatever, it's, October or September might even be a good month, right? That this is gonna be the board meeting times, we go back to school, we have a board meeting and that kind of thing. I don't know if we need it more than once a year that's, like fully big time sponsored by the city. I personally think ours, so we had communications there to kind of help facilitate people coming in the door, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know that we really needed any other additional staff. And I think maybe to a certain extent, the public felt a little bit more relaxed just conversing, because it was, there's just
Just a conversation.
I mean, we started with a little semicircle, we ended up with 3 layers of one, which was really fun. So it was good. It was like a big cocktail party without the cocktails.
Actually, that kind of raises the question, Simon. What is the reason for proposing that staff be involved in each of the meetings?
Yeah, so the city sponsored meetings, we propose staff be involved for the reasons Meredith shared. We have a history of going to those meetings and supporting, facilitating at the door as people come in, there are things that come up. Just being present and being able to take away notes. We do not have to be there, that's up to council, but we have that history, so we wanted to offer that as part of the package, and actually staff with the directions.
I can say too, that the notes that we used to take, so there'd be a section of public works comments, a question of planning comments, part. Then staff would come back and we would say, this is what's being talked about. So the departments then would get those notes. We're like, just so you know, this is what's going on. This is what we're hearing in the neighborhood. And occasionally we'd have someone who would have a question we couldn't answer, and we'd be like, all right, here, public works, can you please contact this person to answer the question?
I'm less concerned about the staff time. I think the mailing may be overkill. That's a lot of postage, a lot of trees. I think we can accomplish what we need to in terms of, social media, the website, just to cut back that kind of cost. Putting towards cookies and coffee or refreshments, right?
Well, the reason that the Ward 2 sent out the postcards was because so many of our residents were not living in Louisville. And we didn't know if they were still in contact because of the fire.
Sure.
And so this was a way to send a postcard to wherever they were currently living.
But we also had a really good turnout from folks who do not have social media presence, don't have like a lot of technology with constantly checking emails. And we got thank yous because otherwise they would not have known. Because of posting it in the library and in the rec center, we would be able to get to some of those people that way.
Some,
So,
not all.
Yeah, although I agree, I think.
That number jumps out, and, we did have comment from the public that's like, wait a minute, but.
I'll say, coordinate it with the newsletter.
Well, that
goes to every.
That's what I think.
That's what I'm
is
saying.
best.
Anyway,
Yeah.
That piggyback on some other communication, right?
I love,
Yeah.
That would,
yeah.
But just to be cognizant of this, the postage.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Tim on, let's try and get it into mailings that already go out rather than sending separate postcards. I agree, it makes sense to have the city coordinate up to 2. I think for some words, it might not be 2. I don't know. But certainly that it's up to 2 doesn't require anyone to do 2. I personally think it's important, the reasons Meredith said, to have staff there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have this meeting without somebody from staff in the room. Both for the continuity reasons and for answering questions and for gathering feedback. Given the types of issues that come up, that feels important to me. And even if they sit quietly in the back, and don't do much else, I think it's still worthwhile. But I think this is a good proposal. I think it's uniformity is a good idea. And announcing them all at once, you know, maybe it'll create some buzz. As
Yeah.
people talk to people, don't necessarily look and say, no, I'm going to the World Food Board meeting. Oh, how did you find out about that? It was the newsletter.
Yeah.
You probably have one with your newsletter. So I think it's a good idea.
To be, I feel like the Jeff Lipton in the room, is everybody okay doing two? Like we're sort of, this is not a requirement or obligation of being on council. So I'm okay doing 2 a year, but are we all okay with that? Because I think it is nice to put like a newsletter out that says, hey, it's all, you know, all 3 wards are doing it at these different times this month. But like, that's gonna look weird if only one is doing it or only 2 or 3 are doing it. So I think kind of have some sort of commitment from all of us to participate in this way.
I'm certainly up for, I mean, we're gonna do at least 2 a year at minimum, but I think as far as like staff's commitment and the cost, I think maybe once a year is a great idea. And then all of us committing to one, staff only needing to spend that kind of time. And then doing it on our own.
Yeah.
Doing it on our own if we want to do more than the one.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't get the citywide publication notification in the newsletters and things like that.
We still can though, can't we? If we give enough notice.
With advance notice,
Yeah.
we will include for the one-off board meetings or the council wishes board meetings in traditional city publications. We won't do quite as much additional marketing and media as we would do for the city sponsored ones where we're all coordinated together.
I like 2 a year. I think 2
I
a
like
year.
2 a year.
I think anything more.
Yeah,
I would spend the money. Yeah.
Is my concern.
Good. I think we do 2 regular meetings without, and say, don't spend all that money.
Right.
I hope so.
I mean, that's.
The soft cost in terms of staff is one thing, the mailing, the hard cost is another. You know, I'm hearing you clearly, so try to coordinate this with other publication
Or
birds.
6,000 jumps out.
And if you guys plan these far enough in advance, we can definitely do that.
So eliminate the postcards.
Yeah, because you can do it in the newsletter.
Yeah.
And presumably the cost of printing it in something that already goes out is nominal, right?
the marginal cost is very small. Right?
I would say, this is
That's for me.
a question for Chris, is that normally when we say board meetings, we also mean a mayor's town meeting included as well.
Yeah,
So that's 4.
right.
Said that Ward 3 used to hold their meetings at the golf course restaurant.
Mhm.
And so there were snacks provided by the city. Everybody bought whatever they wanted. But they got cocktails.
But not, yeah, not,
But the residents could get them whenever they want.
yeah. Well, that's just,
I have ordered some names.
that wasn't part of the proposal.
It was good.
And coffee was, oh,
I was gonna, well, cocktails will count. That's the mix. Coffee with council, cookies with council, you know, just make it a little less formal. I think people
Yeah.
feel intimidated.
Right.
You know, you see the kids and the adults feel the same way. So something to lighten it, just be like, make it kind of, you know, we have what, coffee with the police, you know, I've seen that a bunch of
Right.
times, like, it doesn't have to be coffee, but it's a,
We have a blow party.
go for it. But just something, some theme, I think, but, yeah.
Leave that to the young ones.
So I agree with the comments. I'm on board with twice a year. I like the pivoting from postcards to existing mailings. I know there's still a cost to having staff attend, but I think they get something out of it in hearing potentially a different group of residents' point of view, concerns. So I don't see that as just a cost. I think there is a, benefit to that as well. So I like the idea of having staff there for a few different reasons. That being, I do think it would be a shame to have this information siloed when some of it can be so useful to planning and from a staff perspective.
I'm gonna, oh, yeah.
But do you envision like someone or a couple people or like 8 different people throughout the year attending these meetings?
Great question. I was thinking about that as you were asking that question. We would have a support person there typically, as you experience, like taking notes and dropping off cookies and that type of thing. And then I would anticipate that typically it'd be Sam or I or both of us. And depending what's going on, like when there was all the We Appia conversations late last year, it might have been, if there was a ward meeting, a group of ward meetings, it might have been good to have Kurt come to that. Right now, if we had a ward meeting suite scheduled for this month, maybe we want to bring Rob to that. But that'd be something we want to talk to you about as far as how you wanted to handle your individual ward meetings. That's not Judy shaking her head, but it's each ward meeting can be different. And we just want to offer the same kind of support to all of you. We want to be careful of our resources. We want to make sure that, we want to get out and meet people the same way. I mean, I think that's a good point as far as it's an opportunity for us to connect in a way that we don't always have.
I'm gonna make my comments and then I'm gonna try to summarize after that. So two different sections here. I think a couple of sort of basic things. One, council members can have meetings with whoever they want in the time they want, right? So there's nothing that says that you can't do that. There's nothing that says you can't have a board meeting in addition to the two. Though I would be concerned if somebody weren't taking good notes at those and reporting back to staff some way on the issues, even if you didn't have staff. That would be really important to do because they need to have that continuity and so forth. If you do that, it sounds like I think two staff-supported meetings sounds fine. I think there is good reason. I agree with Councilmember Hefner. There's good reason to have staff there because in all of the cases, there's going to be information that council members don't have. Sometimes there's information that we might be tempted to step in, and that sometimes staff can remind us, oops, that's a current, plan proposal or something like that. And it just helps to know, I think it really gives people confidence that something is going to come out of it when a staff person is there, we're delivering that. Council member can say, hey, can you get back to us or send something out in the newsletter or something? I think that helps. I absolutely don't want any postcards. I mean, I think it's expensive. People throw them away. People who don't live here are on email lists and we can notify them that way. And we've got so many great, we've listed a lot of ways in which we can get in touch with people. I think that's good. I want to try to keep this as inexpensive as possible because we've got staff doing a lot of things. And I think when we talk about meetings, I'm concerned, here's what I really hope we can agree to, is that when we're talking about staffing for a particular meeting, that it's one staff member, maybe two, but not the whole. We want somebody from this department, this department, this department, this department, because that is just too much. So I think we need to have at least some kind of understanding amongst us that staffing does not mean the whole city government is there at the meeting. I think that personally and it's given that we are dealing with a lot of things, it wouldn't be hard to say, gosh, I think these 4 issues are going to come up. We should have and I think the answer to that is no. It's you take questions or whatever, you answer them as you can, and then you say, look, we're getting a lot of stuff on this. I think it's great to do them in a month because then the staff gets like a whole good picture in 1 month of like a snapshot. of the issues that seem to be percolating in various boards. I think that's a good thing. Let's see, there were, you know, I think a minimum of paper, if we can do it, you know, the flyers and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great if we have, you know, something that we can post somewhere on social media stuff that we do or whatever, but I'd hate to see, you know, a whole bunch of paper being left at the library and left in a whole bunch of different places. I mean, I'm all for the engagement. The engagement is really important. Really, that's why I say it shouldn't be limited to two. You do as many as you want. And I think a lot of you already do that. You're already meeting, maybe not with the whole board, but you're meeting with a lot of people on your own. So, I mean, everybody has a way, and I don't want to cramp anybody's style, right? Because, I mean, there are some boards that are more unhappy than others. As Sulu would say, she used to call Ward 2 the happy ward. I don't know that the council members would necessarily represent that ward, would necessarily call them the happy. We never believed it. We never believed that it was the happy ward. I think Ward 1 was always the happy one. So, you know,
You're biased.
But, no, but I mean, you know, I think everybody is just a little bit different on that. So, you know, providing some notice, but I do think that the other thing is if you're having more ward meetings, it's nice to report it back. It's nice to share that information with staff. They can, in our one-on-ones, pass some of it back too, just to know, you know, what other groups of council members are doing, even if it's not something that supported, you know, one of the two staff support meetings. All right, so those are my comments. Yeah.
One other comment on the staff presence. One, maybe two staff members there to just kind of, like you said, sit in the back and take notes kind of thing would probably be helpful. But a lot of staff, I think, would actually intimidate a lot of the residents and keep them from being quite as open and forthcoming with their actual criticisms or concerns. So a limited amount of staff, but not a lot.
Or in the happy word, the compliments.
Oh, there you go. Yes,
The weather,
I said in the happy word, the compliments.
yes.
yes, we would compliment.
And we're gonna have a test run. Ward 2 and I have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, April the 18th at 6:30 at the rec center. We may or may not be, you know, talking about that. It's probably just not just us, but
And we're both at a conference that day.
okay, there you go.
So
That's not,
this staff supported, and I wanted to clarify, when you talk staff supported, there's kind of two things you're talking about. Staff supported, like somebody there taking notes. That sounds like every meeting. Staff supported, like us attending, sounds like twice a year. Am I hearing that right?
Oh, no, I think if we have a third, fourth, fifth, city or board meeting, I don't expect any staff on the extra, ones, like, yeah, that is,
I think we should have an agreement not to.
Okay, so staff
Those
support means
staff support
any
means
staff,
attendance, yeah.
small number, twice.
Yeah.
Right.
But that when we do that, we take special care to feedback, knowing that there's no staff person there to take the notes. I mean, I think that's really important because the expectations of the public, I mean, you'll realize this if you haven't already. They will start expecting things, especially if you have more meetings, they will expect things from you. And if you don't provide staff with information, let's put it this way, that is very, very bad. Because then they get pounded with things that they didn't even know were. You know, I mean, it's like the salespeople and the people who have to provide the work. You know, they gotta be talking to each other. Always. So All right, I mean, I think it sounds like we have. I think we've got consensus on 2 staffs supported meetings, 1 person, maybe another if necessary, for staff going to those meetings. If we have in our various wards more meetings, I'm talking about big meetings, not necessarily the little meetings that we have, that we report back to staff if we're not, if we don't have a staff member there, so they know what's going on. I didn't have a real hard decision on cookies and light snacks. Nobody eats them.
Not really, not at ours,
Actually,
no, they were
that's right.
crushed.
So
I ate them. I'll bring my own
You bring
cookies.
your own cookies.
But then it can't be cookies
Favorite
and
last
council.
Where staff's coming, we'll bring cookies.
So then you can bring it back to staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need them, then we'll bring it back to Public Works and Police, they're always
There
out.
you go.
Actually, library too, library's out there.
And by the way, these aren't strictly public meetings. They get noticed and all that because it's, we want people in there. But you don't have to do the formality. That's the cool part. But do have them, if you're gonna do them in, additional ones or non-staff, ones. Make sure you do it in an accessible place, really important. And whatever other kind of things you might suggest for this, but
Do not attend each other's, because then it's 3 of us.
yeah, that's really important. That's why I can't go, which is
Makes sense.
fine.
Unless we publish. Unless we publish, we don't wanna do that.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, it's,
Weird.
that's tough, because then it becomes a mini council meeting and it ends up being, it has all the trappings of council meeting, which eliminates the spontaneity of it, I think. I think as far as like the support and stuff, we talked about putting it in the newsletter and doing this, a few of the sort of lower cost kind of publication or public. And leaving it to council members, we can all publicize as well. Let's see.
Let's wait till we get the usual crowd though.
If I could plant a seed for the newer elected officials, something to think about in these meetings. When you have your council meetings, you have public comment, you have 3 minutes, you have a gavel, you have a way to control, I'll call it unruly behavior. In a setting like this where it's more casual, it's not a formal meeting, in the back of your mind, you should always have a plan for what happens if somebody shows up and gets unruly. As a city, especially if the city supported event, it's really hard, it's really not a good thing to throw people out of those meetings. If you don't have a gavel, shut it down. But probably the thing to think about is, if it gets unruly, you end the meeting or you take a break. And those are the two strategies that tend to work. Some of the folks who've been around for a while might have other suggestions, but I think also the world's a lot more angry today than it was pre-COVID. So you want to go in, thinking about those type of things. Just, eyes wide open, the world's what it is today.
I think, Mayor Pro Tem mentioned the way we do that is, although it's good not to have too much of a structure, I think setting ground rules at the beginning of any meeting, any public meeting is a good thing. And, what consequences might flow if things get out of hand. And my experience is we've had pretty good luck. I feel like we've had pretty good luck in doing this in most meetings, not all of them, but most meetings, doing that. And then present a few things yourself. Not a bad thing to say, hey, here's a little bit of, and crow about some of the positive things that the city is doing, tell the story. Because I think we don't do that enough. These are really wonderful opportunities to do that. We're gonna get plenty back, but make sure you get some of the stuff out there that is positive, because there's a lot of stuff. All right, what is that? Does that sum up direction? Do you have other things to add, take away?
We discussed timing.
Good.
Can we discuss timing if it's like we're all in jammies in a month and we're talking Q3? We've already missed Q1.
Yeah, well, and I think we want to do this equitably, not just from here forward, but for the year of 2024. Have you guys had one meeting already that was staff supported? Or was it
Yeah, we haven't had
No,
anything
that
that's
was
supported,
last
and this
year.
one won't be either, the last year.
All right, Wendy, what are people's feelings about that? We can't do Q1, obviously, so,
We have one on the books that I think we're planning to have staff supported. What's the date, Barbara?
May 15th, maybe?
maybe so it's.
That's Q2, that's Q2.
So, yeah, ours is in a week, it's obviously not gonna be staff supported, so.
Right.
We did, I mean, the information did go out, like through social media, I think it was posted. I mean, if it was a while ago. Unfortunately, these are the kind of things, if you don't post it within like a week or update, people don't remember. So when people find out about it too soon, so again, like the quarterly newsletter that goes out that's digital, or if it's gonna be printed, having it go in the water bill, people really read those. Like that, people love. I always loved my water bill at. I looked at the calendar, that's how I got all my city news, so that's 20 years.
But they do like reading what's with.
Yeah, I always took that out and I'm like, ooh, was that a message from the mayor? And I'll read that and.
Oh, yeah.
May I make a recommendation?
Yes.
So now that we know that you would like to do 2 staff supported meetings this year, let us go back and look at those quarterly newsletter schedules, together a proposal of what we were like that. And maybe we do one in the summer and then one after the election this year.
That's what I'm thinking.
So that we still have 2 this year, but we're not hitting that election time, but then we can get them in the newsletters and all those.
What do you think? I think it's tough to do them, certainly it's tough to do them. September, October, November, or September, October.
Why is that tough?
This year, in one word, because there's
Why?
an election, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it could be a bad thing for, who knows? I don't know how it cuts.
Right.
You could have a meeting there, and if you're running, then people might use that against you. If, another candidate might say, oh, that's good, take pot shots at the person, or whatever. I mean,
So it should be.
I like the idea of doing it afterward, but I think the only campaign issue really is in Ward 1 even.
But if we get consistent and say let's do December, so
Yeah.
it's always after an election, no
You're
matter
gonna have
what.
a hard time getting it.
What if we ask staff to go look at it?
That sounds like a great,
Has anybody said that?
let's do that. You have, yes.
Yeah, when you do your investigation, can you please keep in mind the PBSD school schedule? Yes, and I know you already have religious holidays and such on your schedule, on your mind, but I want to make sure we keep that.
I think summers are tough, right? If we want attendance to be the priority, then you want people around. I mean, you're never gonna get them.
Well,
But-
we did ours in December and it was actually in a snowstorm and we had 70 people in
Pretty
it.
good.
So, and that's what like.
Yeah.
Truly unhappy board.
Those magnetic council members.
It used to be about 10 or 15 people.
Yeah.
That's more
You
typical.
guys want to get our calendars out?
No, okay, I think we got it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third. Any opposed? Thank you.
That is still up. I love
I
it.
get up at 5,
Wow.
Wow.
That was an early day.
Austin to Houston.